Welcome to Krambamble, a podcast about nothing in particular, but if we do finally figure out what the hell is going on with Jumanji, it'll be a Sunday well spent. My name's Taz.
And I'm Kirsten.
Jumanji, haunted or cursed?
Oh, cursed. Definitely cursed.
Cursed?
Yeah.
Who cursed it? I don't know if it gets explained in the other movies. I've only seen the original, which as far as I'm concerned is the only one. Who do you think put the curse on that?
I think it was deliberately, because, I mean, it was so intricately carved. I think it was definitely designed to have its effect.
Yeah.
And it, curses the player.
Do you think it was someone from natively the continent of Africa or from somewhere else styled in the form of Africa?
It seems very African.
In terms of like the style of curses?
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously it's in an English medium, so the watchers of the movie can... I don't know, maybe it's got some sort of cool translation thing, maybe the dominant language of whoever's playing it, it brings the images up in that language.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Were there rules on the inside of it? I think there were. Like a little cardboard cutout that tells you the rules.
Yeah, there was. On the lid, I think. No, because it opened up. So, that it was printed.
How clever would that be if you're like some real old school hoodoo voodoo doctor and you've got all these white colonists coming in and just taking away thousands of slaves?
Honestly, I don't think it was malicious.
No?
The more I thought about it and the more I watched it, because obviously you watch it 3 or 4 times.
Yes, because it's
freaking
an
Jumanji.
awesome movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the cartoon they made of it was very good as well.
There was a cartoon?
Yeah, he got sucked back in.
Oh, goodness.
And I think the kids did as well, and then they live in the Jumanji universe.
Oh, man. That's just kind of trying to live off of the...
I don't know. It was actually quite good. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, it was done, I think, with this, like the same animation style as the Wild Thornberrys. I feel like that was close. Yeah.
I did like that cartoon. I didn't watch a lot of it, though.
And that was very good.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was almost like natural selection. Like if you completed the game, you deserved to be on the planet.
Right.
I don't know. That's just the feeling I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Darwin Awards in board game form.
Yeah.
Oh.
Natural selection, Darwinism. If you completed this, then you were supposed to survive.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It seems a lot like a Pandora's box to me, like quite the opposite of what you're saying, like fully malicious. I'm going to wipe out an entire civilization by starting, between 2 and 6 people playing this game, and they're going to destroy their entire country. Have fun. That's what it seemed like to me. Just like a weapon of mass destruction.
But nobody died.
In the end, nobody died in the end because it all got reverted, didn't it? It all got reversed. So, I mean, lots of people could die, but if someone completes the game, it would in theory erase everything. But if you kill off all the players, then it would remain forever.
Yeah.
Although that does seem... it's a one-use thing then. Unless... Does everybody have to die? Ooh, that's a good question. So the game was paused when... I want to say his name was Alan Partridge.
Something like that.
Something like that. When Alan gets sucked into the jungle so they can't complete that cycle unless they add new players. What would have... he would have just been stuck... He would have been stuck in there until someone rolls 2, 3, or 8 or whatever the numbers were. But... My point I'm trying to make is, if you kill off everybody that's in the game, can it then restart a new game, but it keeps all the changes in the world that it's elicited through its magical portal?
Yeah, I think it would. If all the players died, it would find its way back into the world because it did.
Yeah.
They buried it, and then it sort of dug its way down and fell into the river. You remember right at the end?
Yeah, it's probably one of those One Ring situations where it would be buried, but it would call out to someone, and some creepy little kid would find it. He'd be digging with his little shovel, and he'd find Jumanji, the board game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would call to people.
There you go. That was one of my shower thoughts.
All right, fair enough. Well, if we're doing shower thoughts...
Shoot.
My shower thought, and this was literally in the shower, so not just...
Oh, okay.
A random. So I kept forgetting it. That's the funny thing, everybody. Taz was like, "Have you got a topic?" I'm like, "Yes, definitely." I remember having this amazing shower thought, but you can't write it down when you're in the shower. So I had to.
I write all mine down in the shower. I got a waterproof phone.
Well, so do I, but I don't trust it. I had an Apple phone for too long, so I've got what do you call it? Like not Stockholm syndrome, but yeah, I'm completely shell shocked from having an Apple phone.
Oh, like a PTSD.
Yeah. So every time. Like any moisture came near the Apple phone, you're like, ah! So I do now put the Samsung in the shower, but I'm still too scared to touch it.
If you haven't cracked the screen on that, it's still completely sealed.
No. nothing. It's
Yeah,
beautiful. I even got a screen protector on it.
Yeah, you just can't touch the screen when it's moist.
I know,
You can't use,
right?
like, the touch sensor.
I've noticed that when it's been raining and I've tried to use it, it keeps opening up Google.
Oh, okay.
It keeps like, what did you say? Like, nothing, Google. I didn't say
Is it
anything.
just me, or has Google gotten more eavesdroppy than it used to be a year ago? Like, it feels like the sensitivity has been turned up. Like, you had to be very, very explicit and hold your phone up and go, okay, Google. But now you can say it from across the room and both phones will pop open. Mine's just done it now.
I'm sitting on mine, so I don't know if it can hear us. No.
Here's what I found on the web.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah. Like, I feel like they've bumped the sensitivity to keep picking those things up, because maybe they have to have that active to keep getting the data to find out that, you know, you want dog toys or baby booties or whatever they're trying to sell you on the ads on Facebook and everything else you visit. I feel like they've tweaked the sensitivity and increased that. So giving Google access to your microphone allows it to increase the sensitivity, I think. That's my little conspiracy theory for the day. Actually, no, I've got many conspiracy theories, but that's one of them.
Back to my shower
Back to your shower thought. Sorry about the tangent. My bad.
So yes, I had to constantly try and rework the idea back in my head, going, what was it again? But then all I did was remember 2 key words to remember my shower thought, and that was aliens and Tiger King.
Oh, okay, I'm interested. I haven't watched either of these programs that I know that has probably inspired this, but I'm now very interested.
No, not ancient aliens, just aliens in general. And
Oh,
you
they
know
don't have
about
to be
those.
ancient. They can be new age hipster
Well, you
aliens.
said both of these shows, and there's only one show that I've mentioned.
I think only Ancient Aliens is the show that you watch that mentions aliens, though, because it's all ancient.
But I've
Works.
only just mentioned ancient. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Prove me wrong with the other alien show that you've been watching that has.
There was
new
no
age aliens.
alien show. There was no show that was related to this question.
Okay.
Right. So, in Tiger King, the biggest complaint by Carol Baskin,
Yes, the one who wears leopard print.
yeah,
Okay.
was that they were farming tiger cubs for people to play with. And Joe was quite good because he kept the tigers, even if as they grew, but he ended up with like a bazillion tigers because he kept breeding them so people could play with the cubs. But then he had 50 tigers. And obviously you can't feed 50 tigers.
It'd be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Lived in Florida, though, right?
I can't remember.
Lots of stupid people.
Yeah, and there was a hint that the other guy who had a big cat sanctuary, well, I wouldn't call it a sanctuary, he was also breeding tiger cubs for people to play with and take photos with. But then they mysteriously disappeared,
Oh.
all the cubs. So the theory was that they were gassing them.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, because feeding 50 tigers isn't an
Yes.
easy thing to do.
Just wait till they break out. Revolution of the Tigers.
Yeah. So, human beings like to play with tigers. Tiger cubs in particular. They used to have all these kids around there and they'd poke and prod the poor little tigers, you know, like stick their fingers in their mouths. And
That's rude.
yeah, I know, but that's what kids are like.
True.
So I was thinking, what if that's exactly what the aliens are doing? They're like, well, let's go to Earth. It's more like a tourist attraction, and they bring their families and their kids, and then they grab, because maybe they're thousands of years old, they grab any human who looks like what would be the equivalent of a tiger cub to them.
Gotcha.
Oh, look, they're only 35 years old. That's so cute.
Oh.
They pull them on, and then all the kids are poking them and prodding them.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what weird stuff they're into.
And they obviously don't have the same orifice as we do. So, yeah, we
Oh.
stick our finger in a tiger cub's mouth when we're like 3 years old. You've seen kids play with puppies and things.
Yeah.
They're forever pulling its tail and sticking their fingers in their ears and stuff. Maybe the aliens, they're not familiar with our various orifices and our taboo nature about what goes where.
Whoa.
They're just like, poke that. What does that do?
Take a photo.
Yeah, exactly.
This is me
There's-
with the human.
There's probably so many photo albums of them with like
Oh my
a
God.
human draped over their lap, like a drugged one.
Yes.
You know, because we've got all those drugged tigers in people's photos.
and
they're-
they abduct people a lot when they're asleep too.
yeah,
So like they drug
exactly.
them, zip them out through the window or through the ceiling with the weird teleporter thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're onto
really
something.
Yeah, and it's really good business for them because it's pure profit.
Well, yeah,
Because they don't need to pay to feed us or house us or anything.
true. We're kind of like I would like to say self-sufficient, but that's not entirely the
But-
case of Earth.
This is the other thing I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is that if scientists have been saying that we're long overdue for an asteroid impact, but these tourist companies, the intergalactic tourist company,
Gotcha.
is like, oh, here comes one. Well, there goes our cash cow. We better deflect this asteroid for them. Otherwise, we're going to lose all our revenue. But now with coronavirus, a lot less abductions.
True. Oh, we're under quarantine. We're all dangerous. And they're like, nah, no more.
Yeah, let's not deal with that right now.
What if they put Jupiter in our solar system to keep a lot of those asteroids away because we were in like a particular belt where it's real, like the rough neighborhood of space? And they're like, oh, we had, Dinosaur Park, but that got wiped out. So we're going to put this giant planetoid that's essentially going to create a nice little vortex and spin them off. And that's what Jupiter does. And they've made it. And like, how do you make it? Gas. Make it out of gas.
Yep, it's fine. Whatever. It just needs to deflect a lot of the asteroids that are heading towards Earth. Yeah, and that's why we're protected. So everyone's like, oh, there's these deities protecting us. Okay, granted. You did say I'd mention ancient aliens, and now I'm going to.
Taz wins.
Yeah, well, maybe they did come down and have been orchestrating things just to make their park more interesting.
Yes.
Because maybe the Neanderthals would fight back.
Oh.
Whereas we're so wussy and lame right now. When we get abducted by an alien, we're like, I'm scared. Oh, we peed my pants.
We've peed our pants.
Yes. That's how people behave. I would.
It's funny that you've mentioned this because it kind of ties into something that I was thinking about as well.
I'm going to try and attempt to have a sip of coffee. Just letting you know.
Do it without bumping the table.
Yep.
So I'm going to start at the start of my thought and we'll work in and you'll start to see where it kind of links in with yours. So I was trying to do some research on sea monsters way back because I was like, we haven't talked about sea monsters. Sea monsters aren't as exciting. I don't know. Is there just something about them that's kind of like, eh?
Actually, on my Disclosed TV that I subscribe to, and they send me all the latest updates and paranormal news.
Yeah.
They've made a resurgence, actually. They're on the cryptid drop-down. There's a heck of a lot more sightings lately. So,
gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know if that makes them interesting, but
Maybe.
There's been a lot more sightings.
And I went down the research hole and started looking at sturgeon because especially in America, that tends to be a lot of, it's the sturgeon that are like the sea monsters and that. I didn't know anything about sturgeon. I imagine sturgeon were like a salmon size.
We have talked about sturgeon twice on this podcast.
Yes, before that.
Okay.
Oh my God, Kirsten. We don't live in a bubble where time doesn't move that I know of.
You've just said I didn't know a lot about sturgeon.
Yes, a year ago.
Oh, a year ago.
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
And
bit. I didn't hear that. Bit.
I've been researching sea monsters since we started this podcast.
Okay.
And I've never found a way to segue them in because I'm like, eh.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yep, I'm listening.
I originally thought sturgeon were the size of like Atlantic salmon. I was like, okay, because they got roe for caviar. I didn't realize that they were massive when they reach a certain size.
Huge.
So when they reach their maturity, they're up to 1 ton and like 5 meters long.
Okay, not even I knew they were that big.
That's the beluga.
A ton.
That's the beluga sturgeon. And I mentioned in a previous podcast, a guy was breeding beluga here, not realizing that beluga and beluga sturgeon were the same thing. Because I was like, oh, beluga, it's like a giant salmon because it has caviar because I didn't know what I was talking about. Anyway, so I was researching that.
There's beluga whale too, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I think it's the region. Beluga is the region.
Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. When they are born, or not born, they hatch from their eggs. Obviously, like most things, they are quite small. And I was reading through the cycle of their
life cycle?
Maturity, maturing, that kind of thing. And they obviously start small and they change shape and all that kind of stuff. And I was looking at pictures of them and they become huge. But the ones that people kind of see out and about because they're overfished are Atlantic salmon sized. So that's where I kind of got that impression from. But when they are not overfished and hunted to near extinction, they can become huge.
Yeah.
What if humans are the same or were the same?
Oh, so when we're not hunted to extinction, we grow massive.
Well, we aren't hunted to extinction.
Explain.
Okay. Here's the little bounce around thought and bear with me. Okay, Greek mythology.
Yeah.
It says that humans were once the perfect being that had 4 eyes, 2 mouths, 4 ears, all that nonsense about, essentially it was one of the little things that talks about Zeus split them in half and cast them to opposite ends of the earth. It ties into the whole soulmate nonsense.
Oh, that's sweet.
What if that's just an analogy for Zeus, or whatever else did it, nerfed the hell out of humans because they were once very, very capable and strong. The Greek mythology, as well as other mythologies, had giants.
Yep.
They were constantly fighting against giants.
Yep.
What if humans, if they aren't killed off, actually physically keep growing and become giants, which is something that could rival aliens, the gods, or whatever the situation with Zeus or whatever.
Oh, I can tie this into Ancient Aliens again.
You probably could. Which then got me to the thought of, how do you stop a species that doesn't die as it ages and becoming giants? Make them allergic to something. And we've discussed this before off podcast, that it's essentially oxygen that starts breaking down our cells.
Yep.
Because of the hemoglobin and all that jazz, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And which you can read in a book that I constantly promote.
Yes.
Which is The Real Science Behind the X-Files, guys. And it tells you that oxygen is actually killing us. Very slowly, but it is killing us.
So what if that allergy or whatever component of our blood, or maybe even moving us to a different area or increasing the oxygenation, that's not a word, the oxygen levels of our planet.
Oxygenation's a word.
There you go, it's a word. Woo! What if that is something that's crafted, whether it's by a deity or an alien or whatever the situation is? What if humans were? I know, there's a lot of tangent-y. Essentially, this conversation's like a Christmas tree where there's a main trunk and then it kind of branches off but keeps going.
Uh-huh.
So, and that tied into what you were saying of we were a little park where they had to kind of keep us under wraps.
Gotcha.
And they could have put the whole oxygen thing in. And that was my big, long, giant spiel that you were kind of like touching on. I was like, oh, yeah. But that's something I was thinking about.
Oh, well, in Ancient Aliens, they're forever like, oh, no one understands how they built all these huge megastructures because the stones are so heavy and they didn't have any technology. And you're like, well, didn't they? And their answer to everything is always aliens. But it'd be funny if you were right that we actually had a race of giants that were our friends and they built stuff for us.
Maybe
they
it was
could
just
lift
us
the
when we reached a certain age. You know, you reach 200, 300 years old and you just keep
some
growing.
pretty intricate carving. I don't know if giants would have the dexterity to be able to do those tiny little carvings.
Maybe it's one of those things. You know, in the same way that...
Well, I was thinking it maybe... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No, you're all good.
You know how we had the Denisovians and the Neanderthals at the
Yes.
same time as humans?
Yes.
Maybe we had the giants and then the small hominids.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Because we also got miniature hominids that they discovered, hey.
Yes.
So-
I don't remember the name of them, but yes.
No. Damn it.
It was an area, I want to say, in the South Pacific.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, like
And they're
Indonesia
like,
or something.
Yeah.
But yes. So we could have all just coexisted with the giants and the... Because giants come up a lot.
In multiple religions and multiple cultures all around the world.
And I think they were blue in South America. They had really tall blue giants.
I mean, it could have changed a great deal. The Norse had the ice, the frost giants and all that they fought against. But what if that was just kind of as part of the indoctrination and the gaslighting the aliens had? They started involving these cultures and these religions going, giants bad. Giants are bad. We've started killing off. And they're the last people that they can't kill off because they've already matured, evolved to that point where they're giants. And they got to spend the next... Because these things don't die, because their DNA can't be altered the same way as younger humans can. So they're like, giants are bad. We're going to kill them. We're going to get rid of them.
Gotcha.
And so they finally wipe them out because if the giants don't die the same way that we do, they don't have an expiration date. They would essentially just be hunting them down. Whereas... generations of humans that now degrade and die, it would stop being a memory of, no, they were us. They're part of our culture. And they're now, they're the baddies. Odin says they're baddies. We don't like them. Or Quetzalcoatl says giants are bad. I don't know if South Americans had a giant race. They may have. They had thunderbirds. But, you know...
Thunderbirds a go!
5 generations of humans back then would be 150 years. It wouldn't be... what we have now, because we go, lifespans between 80 and 100 years. Back then it was 24 years and you were an adult and you were about done. So if you have 5 generations of a story of memory being changed, no longer being, Gilgamesh over there, he's our boy. It's now become, he's bad. Giants are bad.
Yeah.
Wow, I sound like one of those crazy people in all of Joe's podcasts going on and on and on. Maybe I should be an expert on ancient aliens.
I need to be able to do a Joe.
Yes.
And be able to go, no, I'm going to stop you there.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah, I can see that.
Have you tried MDMA yet?
Yeah. Have you heard about the burning bush?
The burning bush.
Apparently. No, anyway, I'm not going to give that any more credence.
And that's another one of my crazy theories that
I love your
roll
crazy
with it.
theories.
I'm glad you enjoy them.
Which brings me on to...
Yes.
We got some questions.
Shoot.
From listeners. And if you want to send in a question, please go to...
krambamblepodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter, which is krambamble, and we also have krambamble Kirsten on the Instagrams.
We do indeed. And there's some actual ghost sightings on there just lately,
Yes.
guys. Go and check them out.
Kirsten's breaking this wide open and proving to you that the ghosts are real.
I am. They weren't brilliant questions, so I've narrowed it down to 2.
Ain't no such thing as a dumb question.
Oh, no, it wasn't that they were dumb, that they were just sort of things that I don't think anyone would care about. Like, what's your favourite colour?
Blue.
Black. Done. Okay, we did that one. Tick that question.
Dunskies. All right, second question.
Okay. What do you... Okay, we talk a lot about the things we don't believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that people would be surprised about that we do believe in?
That I do believe in?
Mm.
Oh.
Because I'm super cynical about everything.
I don't know.
You believe in ghosts.
I'm pretty black and white in my beliefs and disbeliefs. It's just the things that I believe in people disagree with.
Yeah. But you do believe in ghosts. Like,
Absolutely.
You 100% believe in ghosts.
I had a ghost in my childhood home.
Okay.
Yeah. Old man Ghosty McGhost.
That's the second question, is what paranormal experience have you ever had?
Oh, positive ones, thankfully.
Ah.
But I told you, but the listeners don't know, I used to have nightmares. They were nightmares, but they didn't... Essentially, I had ghost dreams / nightmares where there was always some sort of malicious force, and it always taught me that you don't scream. And that started off as a kid being hold your breath, but mostly don't project any outward emotion, don't pay attention, don't look it directly in the eyes like a gorilla or a dog that's aggressive.
Kids have that. I read loads and loads of horror books when I was little.
Yeah.
And yeah, the entity that... I mean, I'm a grown-up now, and obviously I don't believe in any of it. But at the time, yeah, you shut your eyes but you couldn't move. If you made any sudden movement, it would get you.
That makes sense.
But yeah, don't look at it. Don't do anything. Yeah. And I used to believe that it was under my bed, so I'd have to jump from the door onto my bed at night. And
no.
Yeah, and it was in my cupboard at some point, and it had glowing red eyes. So my brother thought it would be really hilarious to colour in 2 red eyes and stick them on paper in my cupboard.
Naturally.
And I just opened the door. I'm like, what the hell?
Did you do it on
He
white
wasn't
paper?
even clever.
Did he do it on white paper?
Yeah.
So
But
good.
he was 2 years younger than me, so I think I was 7, so he would have been 5.
For a 5-year-old, that's a pretty boss prank.
I know, right?
It's like red eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So I must have confided him at some point, being like, I was really scared of these red eyes in my cupboard. And he's like,
Maybe your mum wouldn't fork out for like that thick premium black cardboard that he could put like the gold or
my
red
mum would
textures
have
on.
forked out for anything.
Oh.
If we'd ever seen her.
That
Childhood.
That was weird.
No, they just worked all the time. We had a nanny. But I think it was probably because I used to tie him up with karate belts and stick him in a suitcase and roll him down the stairs.
What a wonderful sister.
Yeah. Well, you got to do. You're bored.
Yeah.
Video games had only just sort of touched the market.
And sadly, he didn't become an escapist. I was going to say escapetionist. I'm doing well today.
Like an escapologist as well, is another one.
Escapist? Maybe. What is Harry Houdini technically? What was his title? Illusionist and escapist.
I thought it was an escapologist.
Oh, isn't that someone who studies people who escape stuff?
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know. It seems like one of those weird titles you get in like a B-grade Pierce
I
Brosnan
don't think they're
movie.
real titles. I think they're the ones that, those people that come up with those isms, those
yes.
Syndromes.
Yes.
Like, I've got a fear of beards, you've got cristodecophobia.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. So if you have to look up in any sort of medical dictionary, they don't exist. It's just names people give stuff.
Just donkey chatter.
Yeah. So that's the stuff you believe in. What do I believe in? I don't know. I think I'm paranormal agnostic. Like, I like the idea of it, but I can't rule it out completely because I think it was in Shakespeare. Like, there are more things in heaven and earth that can be thought of in your... I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like that.
Okay.
And it was just saying that it could be...
Yes.
And the more we discover about parallel universes and dimensions, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to because it would be cool and profound, and I think it would give us another level of meaning if we weren't completely just scuttling little parasites crawling around on the world.
Fair enough.
Yeah. If there was more to it than that, that would be nice. But I don't know. I haven't seen much evidence for it.
I think I've mentioned this to you, or... perhaps I haven't. I've spoken to you about so many of these weird things because I love talking about paranormal stuff because I am obsessed. I may have mentioned it on one of our earliest episodes about especially the Irish and Scottish original beliefs, and probably Welsh as well. I haven't studied those, where the wee folk were allergic to iron. And that's come up in a lot of cultures where iron is always kind of a buffing agent for those supernatural creatures.
Charlie and I just watched The House with the Clock in the Walls.
Yes.
And one of the guys was a necromancer and he came back from the dead and they nailed horseshoes all over the house to keep him away.
Gotcha.
So I think that whole iron thing is in a lot of cultures.
Yeah, I think our cities are made of steel, which has iron as a part of a component. So I think it's just pushing everything back, which is why you will mostly only find ghosts and other weird entities in old wooden houses that occasionally have,
Oh, so
and
the
especially
iron. Wow.
Now, here's something to take to consideration as well. Traditional Japanese architecture that has no nails. It's entirely slotting the pieces of wood together because
True.
because they had a very strong reverence for those spirits.
And they've got a hell of a lot of spirits.
They have a lot of yokai and things like that. And so in order to not push them back and essentially make a declaration of war, they would have no iron in the houses. So
you think it was a decision?
Absolutely.
Ah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that makes sense.
A lot of your tribes in Africa that have access to metal but still won't make metal spear points and arrowheads and things like that. They'll still use bone and wood and stone because they know that it pushes back these supernatural elements that they are very attached to.
Okay, you are talking out of your butt now.
That's science.
No, it's not. They
Science with a
totally
capital S.
used metal.
Not all of them.
Oh, okay, I can't say all of them, but all the ones that I know of from South Africa, yeah, they had metal.
What about North Africa?
I don't know anything about North
No, that's
Africa.
Egypt. They love gold. They love that gold.
They did
I
love
wonder
gold.
if gold has the same property as iron in terms of pushing back.
You reckon you could stab a vampire with like a gold stake?
I think it'd be very difficult because gold is very malleable and
Maybe
vampires
it's an
are quite
alloy.
strong. Sorry?
Like
As an alloy?
Yeah.
Like gold-plated iron?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, you could imagine some vampire hunter from the Vatican would have that.
Oh, for sure.
Because the Vatican's just so rich.
The Vatican's like, we could have a normal wooden stake, but why would I? Welcome to MTV Cribs, it's the Vatican. Whoop, 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 whoop. Camera crew's rolling through and he's like, this is my toilet. It's worth $5 billion.
Why would they show the witch's toilet?
The witch's toilet?
Yeah.
No, the Pope's.
Oh,
Did
right.
you just think of the Pope but think of a witch or witcher?
Well, I was thinking about vampire hunters.
Oh, okay, fair call, fair call.
Yeah.
No, but I have no doubt at all that there are like proper Vatican established hunters that have unnecessarily gaudy equipment.
Oh, yeah. Their crucifixes are all diamond encrusted. And
There's like, $15 million worth of diamonds. Like, why not?
well, I mean, if it's going to do the job, you might as well do it well. I mean,
Where's the
my mind is
Vatican?
dressed like Liberace as well. He's got a full-on pimp plumed hat.
Why not?
Yeah, rolling
There are those suits that you can purchase. There was originally just one guy, but there's probably a few of them now that are bulletproof. And so they have these proper suits.
Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine like...
Oh, like a dress suit. Gotcha.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
were crazy bulletproof. There was a video on YouTube where someone went to go buy one, but the guy that runs the shop was not there, so they weren't allowed to test it.
Oh.
Only allowed to test the shirts and jackets if the owner's there, because they're like, there's things that you have to make sure so you don't kill someone by accident. But yes, I can imagine that these Liberace stunt double vampire hunters have like a nice little cravat around their neck that is also impenetrable to vampire fangs. And it's like, you can't get my neck, Dracula.
It's impregnated with like garlic.
Yeah, it's
like-
constant like garlic powder. I'm like, ooh, it smells delicious. The accents keep changing. I don't know where this guy's from. He's like Christopher Lambert in the first Highlander with his accent so butch. He's like, where are you from? I'm from everywhere. And you're like, what the hell is that accent?
That was a really good everywhere accent.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know where that guy's from.
Next time you ever see that movie or have a chance just to watch the first part, like he's being interviewed by the cops because they've captured him because he cut some dude's head off.
Yep.
They're like, where are you from? He's like, I'm from everywhere. And you're like, what is that accent, Christopher Lambert? Such a good actor in a B grade. There's like B grade actors who are like, you are the best that you will ever be in B grade. Don't try to push beyond that.
Okay.
And I love that Jean-Claude Van Damme has stayed there and has now created this little subclass above B. You're like, it'll never be A grade, but it's perfect.
And we've turned into a movie podcast again.
Why not? It's a podcast about nothing in particular.
But I was just thinking, like, there must still be vampire hunters in the Vatican because they've still got exorcists.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just saying, I think on a previous episode, that there are something like 135.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Currently working exorcists in just America. So if you think globally.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But after all the things that I've now learnt thanks to Joe Rogan's podcast and all the guests he has, I didn't think that America had such a massively rich culture in terms of ancient humans.
Oh, of course.
I just assumed it was the Wild West and you had your Native Americans that were all nomadic, and I didn't really think of like actual structures where people had settled down. I thought for a very long time it'd just been essentially a massive cluster of different nomadic groups. Boy, was I wrong.
Yes.
Boy, was I wrong. Thanks, Joe. Ding! Do you have any more questions?
No, those were the two major ones. I mean, like I said, there were some silly ones like, what's your favourite outfit to podcast in?
During winter, warm clothes.
Pretty much. We both got our Ugg boots on.
Yeah, they're the
which
best.
also made a debut appearance on Krambamble Kirsten.
Yes.
Oh, I
Ugg
didn't take
boots.
a photo of yours. Sorry.
That's okay. Yours are fancier. Well, if you don't have any more questions, that's our time. We're actually over the 30-minute mark. Just ploughed through it.
Oh man, my bladder always knows when we're getting to
It
the 30
always
minute mark.
knows. She needs to pee.
I do.
This has been Krambamble. My name's Taz.
And I'm Kirsten.
And Kirsten needs to pee.
As always.
Bye.
Bye.